The thing about saving someone's life is that you never expect them to come back and make you regret it. Especially when that someone has blue skin, 3 fingers per hand, and comes from a species that was trying to exterminate humanity just a decade ago. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Name's Jack Reynolds, former combat medic turned frontier planet repair guy. If it's broken and smaller than a shuttlecraft, I can probably fix it. People around here call me Doc, though I've told them 1,000 times that patching up soldiers with biofoam and removing shrapnel doesn't make me a real doctor. My shop sits on the edge of New Anchorage, a settlement that's really just a collection of prefabs and repurposed shipping containers with delusions of grandeur. It's the kind of place where the planetary governor is also the bartender and local dispute mediator. Glamorous. I know. 10 years ago I wasn't fixing sonic screwdrivers and jury-rigging atmospheric regulators. I was knee-deep in the muck of what humans dramatically call the Galactic War and what most other species more accurately term that time humans discovered FTL and immediately started causing problems. The brass had deployed my unit to Saren 4, a miserable rock with acid rain and wildlife that seemed personally offended by human existence. We were clearing out cerulean positions. The ceruleans, blue-skinned with those distinctive silver eyes that reflect like mirrors, were our primary adversaries. Stronger than humans, technologically superior, and absolutely convinced of their genetic supremacy. Reynolds. We've got movement in Sector 8. Lieutenant Marco's voice crackled over my comm as I finished patching up Private Donovan's leg. On my way, I replied, grabbing my medkit. Standard procedure: shoot anything blue, patch up anything pink. What I found in Sector 8 wasn't a cerulean squad. It was a single female, young by their standards, trapped under fallen debris from our earlier bombardment. Her silver flight suit was torn, revealing mottled dark blue skin that pulsated strangely where a jagged piece of metal had pierced her side. Cerulean blood doesn't clot like ours. It crystallizes. Beautiful, in a macabre way. Military protocol was clear: eliminate all enemy combatants. Radio in only if you captured someone with intelligence value. But damn, she looked scared. And scared looks the same on every species. Please, she said in that musical accent all ceruleans have when speaking English. End it quickly. Instead, I pulled out my medkit. Hold still. This is going to hurt. Her mirror eyes widened. You help me. Why? Because I'm an idiot, I muttered, administering a universal painkiller. Or because watching something die when you can prevent it goes against everything they taught me in medical school, even if that something is technically trying to genocide my species. As I worked, she watched me with those reflective eyes. I am Lyra, she said suddenly. Third Wing, House of Eternal Stars. Jack Reynolds, Earth. House of Poor Life Choices. She actually laughed, a tinkling sound like wind chimes, then promptly passed out from blood loss. I managed to stabilize her condition, but now I had a new problem: a wounded enemy combatant, who'd be shot on sight by my own side and executed for weakness if found by hers. So I did, the only logical thing: hid her in an abandoned atmospheric processor unit, diverted medical supplies over 3 days, and somehow kept her alive until she was strong enough to access her emergency beacon. The night before she left, she pressed something into my hand. A small crystal, electric blue. Life debt, she said simply. Until balance. Before I could ask what the hell that meant, she'd vanished into the Saren 4 jungle. 2 days later, our forces declared victory in the sector. 3 months after that, the ceruleans signed an armistice, and the war ground to a halt. I figured that was the end of it. Just a strange wartime encounter, and a pretty paperweight that occasionally glowed when I couldn't sleep. Until today, when a cerulean dreadnought appeared in the skies above New Anchorage, and my past came knocking with blue knuckles. Let me tell you something about living on a frontier planet. When a ship appears that's bigger than your entire settlement, everyone loses their minds in very predictable ways. The town drunk, Old Pete, declared it was the end times and barricaded himself in the community recycling plant with 3 weeks' worth of synthetic tequila. Mayor Kayla Thompson, who also owns the only bar worth drinking at, immediately called an emergency town meeting, which on New Anchorage means she rang the manual alarm bell while shouting creative profanities that questioned the legitimacy of everyone's birth. I just stared up at my shop ceiling as dust particles danced down from the vibrations of the massive ship entering our atmosphere. Well, I said to nobody in particular. Either I'm about to die, or someone's going to bring me something interesting to fix. I glanced at my half-repaired moisture collector. Either way, Mr. Abernathy isn't getting his humidity control back today. Through my grimy front window, I watched people scurrying around like ants whose hill just got kicked. The ship was now fully visible. Sleek blue-silver metal with the distinctive rounded edges of cerulean design, and prominently displayed on its hull, the emblem of the House of Eternal Stars. That's when my stomach dropped into my boots. I knew exactly who had come calling. I pulled out my desk drawer and grabbed the blue crystal that had sat there for 10 years. It was pulsing now, glowing brighter than I'd ever seen it. Great, magical alien GPS tracker. Should have chucked it into a volcano years ago. My shop door swung open with enough force to crack the glass. 4 cerulean guards entered, wearing the formal armor of their fleet, all sharp angles and reflective surfaces that made them look like walking art installations. Between them stood a figure that stopped my heart for a solid 3 seconds. Lyra. Gone was the frightened young soldier I'd patched up. This was an admiral if the ornate shoulder pieces were anything to go by. She was taller than I remembered, her blue skin now a deeper shade with iridescent markings across her exposed forearms and neck, signs of advancement in rank, if my rusty xenobiology knowledge served. Her mirror eyes were now accentuated by silver tattoos that extended to her temples. "Jack Reynolds," she said, and her voice still had that musical quality, though now it carried the weight of command. "It has been precisely 3,721 planetary rotations since our encounter. You counted." I leaned back in my chair, projecting casualness I absolutely did not feel. Most people just say long time no see. One of her guards made a threatening move forward, but she stopped him with a slight gesture. "Your vernacular remains uniquely human." There was something in her voice. Amusement. "As does your shop. I expected someone of your talents to have advanced beyond this establishment." I gestured around at my cluttered workshop. "What can I say? I have a gift for underachievement." "Indeed." She approached my workbench, examining a half-disassembled drone. "Your colony appears distressed by our arrival." "Yeah, funny thing about showing up in a warship the size of Manhattan. Makes people nervous. Especially when the last time your species visited humans en masse, you tried to turn us into an endangered species." "The war is over," she stated flatly. "Tell that to my recurring nightmares." Her silver eyes fixed on me with uncomfortable intensity. "You have aged. That's what humans do. We're efficient like that. You have not inquired why I've come." I picked up a wrench, suddenly needing something in my hands. "Figured you'd get to it eventually. After 10 years, what's another 5 minutes of cryptic alien dialogue?" Lyra turned to her guards and said something in the cerulean language, all flowing syllables and clicks that human mouths can't reproduce without dislocating something. The guards straightened, exchanged glances, and then filed out of my shop. That's when the settlement's emergency siren finally kicked in, about 15 minutes too late to be useful. "Classic New Anchorage efficiency. Your warning system is inadequate," she observed. "We don't get many visitors worth warning about." Lyra moved closer, close enough that I could see the subtle patterns in her irises, like mercury swirling in a glass. "Jack Reynolds, medic of Earth, House of Poor Life Choices." She recited my improvised introduction perfectly. "I have searched 17 systems to find you. Could have just sent a message. We have mail here. Sometimes, this matter requires personal attendance." She straightened to her full height, a good foot taller than me, and placed a 3-fingered hand on her chest in what I recognized as a formal gesture. "By the ancient codes of my house, and the blood laws of my people, I have returned to fulfill the balance of life debt." And then she did the last thing I expected. She dropped to one knee, bowed her head, and intoned formally, "Kneel, human." I blinked. "Excuse me. It is customary for both parties to kneel when a life bond is invoked," she explained with the patience one might use with a particularly slow child. "Our mutual genuflection symbolizes the equality of the exchange to come." "Right," I said, still not moving from my chair. "And if I don't feel like kneeling?" Her silver eyes narrowed slightly. "Then, as dictated by the 73rd Codicil of Interspecies Relations, I would be obligated to demonstrate my superiority through ritual combat before proceeding with my proposal." "Your proposal, yes." She remained on one knee, looking increasingly impatient. "I require your service, Jack Reynolds. The fate of multiple species, including your own, may depend on it. Last I checked, I wasn't taking job applications from people who tried to kill me and everyone I know. Had I wished to kill you," she said with a hint of that tinkling laugh I remembered, "I would not have arrived with merely one warship." That's when I noticed something through my window. Beyond her massive dreadnought, at least 6 more cerulean vessels had taken position in the sky above New Anchorage. "Oh," I said, weakly. "You brought friends." Lyra's expression was unreadable, but I swear I saw the corner of her mouth twitch upward. "Now, Jack Reynolds, will you kneel or must I break your legs first as a courtesy?" There's something profoundly humbling about kneeling on your own shop floor across from an alien admiral with 7 warships backing her play. It's the kind of humbling that makes you reconsider your life choices, specifically that whole saving enemy combatants phase I went through. This is ridiculous, I muttered, my knees already protesting against the hard concrete floor. Can we get to the part where you explain why you're here before my joints calcify? Lyra rose gracefully to her feet and gestured for me to do the same. The ritual acknowledgement is complete. Now we may speak as equals. We were speaking as equals before. That's kind of my whole thing, treating species equally. Hence the not letting you die part. She tilted her head. Your comprehension of equality is charmingly simplistic. And your diplomatic skills are exactly what I'd expect from someone whose first cultural exchange program involved plasma cannons. I swear she almost smiled. On a cerulean, that means the corners of their eyes crinkle slightly. Their mouths barely move when they're amused, which always made playing poker against them during peacetime absolutely impossible. I have a proposition, Lyra said, pacing my workshop with the deliberate movements of someone used to a much larger command deck. One that would satisfy my life debt and potentially preserve millions of lives. I'm listening. I hopped up to sit on my workbench. If she was going to tower over me anyway, might as well be comfortable. Are you familiar with the precursor artifacts discovered in the Vega Proxima system? Vaguely. Ancient alien tech predates all known species. Very mysterious. Don't touch or you'll turn inside out. Or whatever. She shot me a look that suggested my summary lacked certain nuances. The precursors were an advanced civilization that vanished approximately 3 million years ago. They left behind technology that even the Cerulean Collective has difficulty comprehending. Okay. 3 standard weeks ago, a joint research team consisting of humans, Ceruleans, and representatives from the Vogue Consortium activated a dormant precursor installation. I winced. That sounds like a terrible idea. Indeed. The installation appears to be a weapons system of unprecedented scale. Our scientists project that once fully activated, it could destabilize the fabric of space-time throughout this arm of the galaxy. So turn it off. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Your problem-solving approach remains refreshingly direct. There was that eye crinkle again. Unfortunately, we cannot simply turn it off. The activation sequence triggered a biological security protocol. The system requires specific intervention. What kind of intervention are we talking about? Because if it involves sacrificing virgins to an ancient space god, I'm pretty sure New Anchorage ran out of those about 3 days after founding. The security protocol requires medical expertise. She fixed those silver eyes on me. Specifically, it requires someone who can navigate both human and cerulean physiological responses. The system was designed to recognize compatible biological signatures working in harmony. I frowned. And you need me because you are possibly the only human in existence who has successfully treated cerulean physiology without formal training or equipment. Your intuitive approach to xenobiology is precisely what we need. Let me get this straight, I said, sliding off the workbench. You want me, a washed-up combat medic who now fixes broken toasters, to help you deactivate an ancient alien superweapon because I once performed field surgery on you with duct tape and biofoam. That is a crude but essentially accurate summary. Why not get an actual xenobiologist? The armistice has held for 10 years. There must be human doctors who've studied cerulean physiology by now. Lyra's expression darkened. Time is of the essence. The weapon's activation sequence is accelerating. And she hesitated, which I'd never seen a cerulean do before. There are political complications. Not all factions within the collective or your United Earth government support cooperation. So this is an off-the-books mission. Precisely. And you came to me because you are outside official channels, because you have demonstrated both skill and, she seemed to search for the right word, moral flexibility. You mean I broke the rules to save you? Yes, and now I need you to break them again to save everyone else. I ran a hand through my hair. What exactly would I have to do? Join my crew. Travel to the precursor site. Apply your unique perspective to interface with alien technology that responds to biological harmonics. She stepped closer. You have 7 standard days to complete the mission before the weapon reaches critical activation threshold. And if I say no, her expression didn't change. But somehow the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Then I will have failed to repay my life debt. By the laws of my house, I would be forced to restore balance through other means, such as designating this settlement for diplomatic exercises. My crew needs target practice. I stared at her, trying to determine if she was bluffing. Those mirror eyes revealed nothing. Let me get this straight. Either I help you on this suicide mission to disable an ancient superweapon, or you obliterate New Anchorage as, what? The cosmic equivalent of sorry I couldn't pay my tab. The life debt must be balanced, she stated simply, either through equivalent service or equivalent loss. I glanced out the window at the townsfolk still running around in panic. Mayor Kayla was organizing some kind of pathetic defense force armed with mining tools. Ridiculous but brave. What about my shop? It will remain untouched until your return. Bold of you to assume I'll return. I have faith in your survival instincts. Jack Reynolds. They are remarkably evolved for a human. I sighed deeply. When do we leave? Immediately. She reached into a compartment in her armor and withdrew a small metallic disc. This grants you temporary status within my house. It will prevent my crew from killing you on sight. Charming. I took the disc. It hummed slightly against my palm. Do I get a cool title to go with it? You will be designated as specialist consultant to the Admiral. Catchy. She turned toward the door. Pack only essential items. My shuttle departs in 30 of your minutes. And what if I just run the moment you leave my shop? Lyra paused at the doorway and looked back with what I could have sworn was amusement. The life debt crystal I gave you is symbiotically linked to your neural patterns after a decade of proximity. I can find you anywhere in this system. She tilted her head. Besides, where would you go? Your curiosity is already engaged. Damn her for being right. Fine. 30 minutes. But I want it on record that I think this is a terrible idea. Noted. She nodded formally. Welcome to the crew of the Astral Vengeance, Jack Reynolds. Astral Vengeance. Seriously? Who names these ships? Angry teenagers. I named it. Lyra said coolly. After the destruction of my homeworld. Oh, I winced. Well, this is starting great. As she walked out, leaving me to pack for what would likely be my final adventure, I couldn't help but think about how spectacularly wrong I'd been. Saving her life hadn't come back to make me regret it. It had come back to get me killed in an entirely new and creative way. Progress, I suppose. Turns out, a cerulean shuttle doesn't so much fly as it does aggressively relocate you through space while your internal organs try to remember their proper arrangement. By the time we docked with the Astral Vengeance, I had developed a new appreciation for staying planetside forever. You appear unwell, Lyra observed as I stumbled onto the main deck fighting nausea. Gee, what gave it away? The green complexion or the fact that I'm calculating how much you'd charge to shoot me and put me out of my misery? The command deck fell silent. About 20 ceruleans turned to stare at me with expressions ranging from shock to outright hostility. Apparently, casual death wishes weren't part of their standard bridge etiquette. This, Lyra announced to her crew, is Specialist Consultant Reynolds. He will be assisting with the precursor mission. He is under my personal protection. A collective murmur rippled through the bridge. One officer, wearing what I recognized as commander insignia, approached Lyra and spoke in rapid-fire Cerulean. I caught maybe one word in 10, but objection, human, and security risk featured prominently. Your concerns are noted, Commander Vex, Lyra replied in English, clearly for my benefit. However, the specialist's unique qualifications outweigh standard protocols. Commander Vex cast me a look that could have frozen helium. As you command, Admiral. He executed a precise bow and returned to his station, radiating disapproval. Charming fellow, I muttered. You will be working with a specialized team. Lyra continued, ignoring my comment. Follow me. She led me through corridors that seemed designed specifically to make humans feel inadequate. Everything was too tall, too smooth, and aesthetically perfect in that unsettling alien way that makes you feel like you're walking through a living organism rather than a ship. Your quarters, she said, stopping at a door that whisked open to reveal a surprisingly comfortable-looking room. And your team members. Inside were 3 of the strangest beings I'd ever seen, and I'd spent 2 years in an interspecies MASH unit. Jack Reynolds. Lyra gestured to what appeared to be a boulder with limbs. This is Strategic Officer Grunk of the Thelicosa cluster. The boulder shifted, revealing glittering crystalline eyes embedded in its rocky surface. Human looks soft. Will break easily. His voice sounded like gravel in a blender, but his English was perfect. Nice to meet you too, Dwayne Johnson. Grunk tilted his massive head. I do not understand this reference, but I sense it is derogatory. I approve of your hostile demeanor. It suggests you might survive longer than 3 minutes. This, Lyra continued, pointing to a blur of movement in the corner, is engineering specialist Pix. The blur resolved into a small four-armed creature with overlarge eyes and skin that shifted colors like an octopus having a seizure. All 4 hands were simultaneously manipulating different tools. New friend. Pix launched across the room faster than my eyes could track and suddenly had 2 hands on my face and 1 each on my shoulders. Your epidermis sings the song of water worlds and iron cores. Such fascinating bilateral symmetry. Like 2 half-thoughts connected by a wishbone of possibility. I blinked. Thank you. Pix speaks primarily in metaphor. Lyra explained. You will adjust. The clockwork of understanding ticks with exposure. Pix agreed, finally releasing my face. We shall repair the broken vacuum together or become dust in its infinite hunger. Right, I said slowly. Looking forward to it. And finally, Lyra gestured to the only apparently normal being in the room, Navigator Tom. A human, or at least human-appearing, man with perfect posture and an enthusiasm that immediately made me suspicious, stood up and extended his hand. Absolutely delighted to meet you, Specialist Reynolds. What a tremendous honor. I've heard such remarkable things. I reluctantly shook his hand. From who? I literally just got here. Oh, word travels quickly about a human who saved an enemy cerulean during the war. Fascinating story. Tremendous narrative arc. Excellent character development. I looked at Lyra. Is he for real? Navigator Tom is unique. But his spatial calculations are unmatched. I plotted our course to the precursor site with only 3 quantum variables. New personal best. Tom beamed. Something was definitely off about him. No human should be that happy about quantum variables. So this is my team. A talking rock, a metaphor-spewing octopus, and whatever the hell is wrong with Captain Enthusiasm over here. Yes, Lyra said simply. The fate of trillions rests with the 4 of you. We're doomed. I concluded. The rainbow fears not the storm but dances through its tears. Pix offered helpfully. Grunk made a sound like boulders tumbling down a mountainside, which I eventually realized was laughter. Human understands situation correctly. We are indeed, as you say, doomed. Nonsense. Tom clapped me on the back hard enough to bruise. We're going to have a spectacular time saving the galaxy. I've packed snacks. Lyra watched this exchange with that inscrutable cerulean expression. You have 6 hours to prepare before we reach the precursor site. I suggest you use it to familiarize yourself with your team's capabilities. And if we all kill each other before we arrive, then the weapon will activate and render the question moot. She turned to leave, then paused. Jack Reynolds, when I selected this team, I chose individuals who, like you, defied expectations and conventional procedures. You picked a bunch of weirdos, you mean? I selected the only beings in this quadrant with any chance of success. Her silver eyes locked with mine. Normalcy has already failed. We need what is your human expression. Outside the container thinking. Box. Outside the box thinking. Ah yes. Although container is more accurate as a translation. After she left I turned to my new team. So I said, dropping onto the too-tall bed, anyone want to tell me what we're actually walking into? Preferably without metaphors, geological references, or disturbing enthusiasm. Grunk shifted his massive form. We go to touch dead god machine that eats stars. Probably die. If lucky, die quickly. The ancient slumberer wakes with hunger in its metal heart. Pix added, now hanging upside down from a ceiling fixture. We must sing it back to sleep before it consumes the orchestra. It's going to be amazing. Tom contributed, grinning maniacally. I dropped my head into my hands. This is what I get for not letting blue aliens die. A valuable life lesson. The precursor station looked like what would happen if you asked a cosmic horror to design a snowflake. Massive crystalline structures stretched in impossible geometric patterns, suspended in space without any visible means of support. It shouldn't exist, yet there it was. Beautiful, terrifying, and completely indifferent to our existence. We are approaching docking parameters, Lyra announced as our shuttle navigated toward what we hoped was an entrance and not the ancient equivalent of a garbage disposal. The sleeping giant beckons with crystal fingers. Pix exclaimed, all 4 hands working different control panels simultaneously. Fascinating architecture. Simply remarkable. Tom's enthusiasm remained undiminished even as proximity alarms blared. Grunk rumbled ominously. Death awaits with architectural flair. You guys really know how to boost morale, I muttered, double-checking the makeshift medical kit I'd assembled. Turned out Cerulean ships don't stock human-compatible supplies. Go figure. Our shuttle attached to the station with a disquieting organic-sounding squelch. The airlock cycled, filled with shimmering particles that apparently analyzed our molecular structure, then cleared to reveal a corridor that seemed to shift and breathe. Okay, I said. Before we go in, does anyone actually have a plan beyond poke the ancient death machine and hope for the best? Lyra stepped forward. The control nexus is approximately 500 meters inward. We must reach it and implement the deactivation sequence before the station achieves full power. And this deactivation sequence involves what exactly? The station requires biological validation from compatible species working in harmony. You and I must simultaneously interface with the control mechanisms. Interface how? We will know when we reach it. That's not a plan. That's a suicide pact with extra steps. Lyra's silver eyes narrowed. Do you have an alternative suggestion, specialist? I didn't. And that's how I found myself walking through shifting crystalline corridors alongside a rock person, a metaphor-spewing octopus thing, an over-enthusiastic navigator who definitely wasn't entirely human, and the blue alien, whose life I'd saved only to have her drag me into this mess. The station hummed around us, the frequency rising subtly with each step. Surfaces that appeared solid would suddenly become transparent, revealing glimpses of impossible machinery operating in dimensions that made my eyes water. This technology transcends conventional understanding, Lyra explained as we walked. The precursors existed partially outside normal space-time. The ancestors danced between the moments of reality's heartbeat. Pix offered helpfully. They built really cool stuff. Tom added, beaming. Grunk just grunted. We reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 identical paths. Which way? I asked. Tom cocked his head as if listening to something. That one. He pointed confidently to the right passage. Based on what navigational calculation? It feels right. Before I could object, the station rumbled. Crystalline particles in the air began to glow with increasing intensity. Power levels are rising, Lyra stated calmly. We must hurry. We followed Tom's feeling down the right corridor, which twisted in ways that should have been physically impossible. At one point we were definitely walking on the ceiling, though nobody fell. Physics was clearly more of a suggestion here than a rule. The Nexus is ahead, Lyra announced as we approached a vast chamber. Be prepared for. She never finished that sentence because that's when everything went spectacularly wrong. First, I tripped over literally nothing, a skill I've perfected over years of bad decisions, and face-planted into what appeared to be a control panel. Lights flashed, alarms blared, and the station shuddered. Reynolds, Lyra hissed. Your primitive human reflexes have triggered the security system. Oh, I'm sorry, I shot back, picking myself up. Next time I'll try to fall with more alien grace. Pix darted around frantically. The sleeping guardian wakes with thorns extended. The nest is stirred. The shadows grow teeth. Mechanical appendages emerged from the walls, scanning us with beams of light that seemed to penetrate straight to the molecular level. Fascinating defense mechanism, Tom observed cheerfully as one of the appendages nearly took his head off. Grunk positioned himself between us and the majority of the mechanical arms. I will handle these. Continue to the Nexus. Laser fire bounced harmlessly off his rocky hide as he began methodically crushing the appendages. We ran forward into the Nexus chamber, a massive spherical space with a central platform suspended over what looked like a miniature galaxy swirling below. The walls pulsed with energy that formed patterns reminiscent of neural networks. There, Lyra pointed to 2 recessed panels on opposite sides of the platform. Those are the interface points. You take the left, I'll take the right. And do what exactly? Place your hands on the surface and focus your thoughts on deactivation. That's your plan. Think happy, please don't destroy the galaxy's thoughts at it. The interface reads bioelectric patterns and intent. The chamber door slammed shut behind us, cutting off Grunk and Pix. Oh, that's not good, I muttered. The miniature galaxy beneath us swirled faster, colors shifting toward red. The station's hum became a teeth-rattling vibration. We must hurry, Lyra insisted. The weapon is entering final activation. I hurried to my assigned panel, but before I could reach it, a new door opened on the far side of the chamber. Figures poured through, armed soldiers in unfamiliar armor. Ah, Admiral Lyra, called a smooth, cultured voice. How predictable you've become. A tall cerulean male stepped forward, his uniform bearing insignia I didn't recognize. His skin was pale blue with extensive silver markings, and one eye had been replaced with a cybernetic implant that glowed ominously. "Commander Vrax," Lyra replied coldly. "I should have known the purest faction would interfere." "Interfere? My dear Admiral, we're here to ensure success." His mechanical eye focused on me. "Though I see you're still keeping human pets. This one looks familiar." I straightened. "We met briefly, Saren 4. You were trying to bomb a field hospital. I was trying to evacuate wounded. Good times." "Ah. Yes." The medic with the mouth. Vrax smiled thinly. "How fortunate to have this reunion." "Vrax, you don't understand what's happening here," Lyra warned. "This weapon will destroy everyone, ceruleans included. A calculated risk. My scientists believe we can control the weapon's targeting parameters." He gestured, and his soldiers raised their weapons. "Now step away from the controls." "Your scientists are wrong," I said. "This thing doesn't discriminate. It's going to rip apart space-time throughout the sector." "The human is correct," Lyra added. "This is madness, Vrax." The commander's face hardened. "What's madness is allowing lesser species to continue polluting the galaxy after we finally have the means to cleanse it. The cerulean race must reign supreme, as was always intended." "Wow," I said. "And I thought human racists were unoriginal." The station lurched violently. The galaxy beneath us contracted, then expanded in a pulse of energy that knocked everyone off their feet. "Final sequence initiated," announced a melodious voice from nowhere and everywhere. "Purification imminent." Vrax smiled triumphantly, as he regained his footing. "You're too late." I looked at Lyra, who had been thrown to the opposite side of the chamber. She met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in those silver mirrors. "Jack," she called urgently. "Remember Saren 4. What did you do when conventional methods failed?" I thought back to that day in the jungle, to improvising medical procedures for an alien physiology I barely understood. And then I did what I do best, something incredibly stupid. "Hey, Commander Racist," I shouted, drawing Vrax's attention. "Quick anatomy question. Do ceruleans still have that neural cluster behind their left ear? The one that regulates biometric signatures?" Vrax's organic eye widened fractionally, just enough to tell me I was right. "Shoot him," he ordered his troops. I dove behind a crystalline column as energy blasts scorched the air where I'd stood. What I needed was a distraction. And fortunately, I had the universe's most distracting team. On cue, the chamber door buckled and then exploded inward as Grunk burst through, covered in mechanical debris and looking significantly angrier than before. If that was even possible for a sentient boulder. "Rock beats scissors," he bellowed, which I'm pretty sure he picked up from me during our brief cultural exchange aboard the shuttle. In the ensuing chaos, picks somehow materialized from an overhead ventilation shaft that definitely hadn't existed moments before. The storm dances on puppet strings while the orchestra drowns. They shrieked, flinging what appeared to be improvised explosive devices with disturbing accuracy. And then there was Tom. Sweet, enthusiastic, definitely not entirely human Tom, who calmly walked through the firefight as if out for a Sunday stroll. "Excuse me. Coming through. Pardon me." He dodged energy blasts with preternatural precision, his perpetual smile never faltering. "This is so exciting." With everyone thoroughly distracted, I made my move, sliding across the platform toward Lyra. "I need your blood," I whispered as I reached her. "That is an unorthodox request during combat," she replied, but already understood, extending her arm. I used a shard of broken crystal to make a small cut, collecting the silvery blue fluid that crystallized almost instantly. "Your turn." She took the shard from me, and did the same to my arm with surgical precision. The interface needs compatible biological signatures working in harmony, right? I pressed my bleeding arm against hers, mixing our blood. "Let's give it harmony." We lunged for the nearest control panel together, slamming our joined arms onto its surface. The crystallized mixture of our blood melted into the panel, which lit up with patterns reminiscent of DNA spirals. "Stop them," Vrax screamed, but too late. The station hummed at a new frequency, less threatening, almost musical. The swirling galaxy beneath us stabilized, its colors shifting from angry red to a calm blue-violet. "Recalibration initiated," announced the station's voice. "Alignment protocol accepted." Vrax lunged at us, cybernetic eye blazing. "You fools, do you realize what you've done? Save trillions of lives," I suggested, ducking behind Lyra as he fired his sidearm at me. You've wasted the greatest opportunity our species has ever known. Lyra stepped forward, her posture pure cerulean aristocracy. The precursors didn't build weapons, Vrax. They built tools, tools that respond to cooperation, not domination. The Leviathan slumbers again, dreams turned from fire to frost. Pix declared joyfully, spinning in circles. The station shuddered one final time and then, calm. The deadly vibration stilled, replaced by a gentle, almost pleasant hum. Recalibration complete, the station announced. Defense protocols deactivated. Welcome, inheritors. Vrax's forces were suddenly surrounded by shimmering energy fields that immobilized them completely. Only Vrax himself remained free, standing alone before Lyra. This isn't over, he snarled. The purest faction grows stronger every day. Your human-loving policies will be the end of our species. No, Vrax, Lyra replied calmly. Your inability to evolve will be the end of yours. Tom appeared beside the commander, still smiling. I'll take that, thank you. He plucked Vrax's weapon from his hand with impossible speed. Wonderful craftsmanship. Terrible purpose. Grunk lumbered over and unceremoniously lifted Vrax by his uniform collar. Small blue man talked too much. Noise hurts rock ears. And just like that, it was over. We'd saved the galaxy with impromptu xenobiology, a suicidally optimistic plan, and the weirdest team ever assembled. As we made our way back to the shuttle, surrounded by force field restrained purist faction soldiers, I found myself walking beside Lyra. So, I said casually, my debt is paid, right? We square now. There was that eye crinkle again. The life debt has been balanced. Yes, great. So you can drop me back at New Anchorage, and we'll call it even. That is one option. Something in her tone made me suspicious. What's the other option? Among my people, there is a tradition that extends beyond mere life debts. She seemed almost hesitant. From a cerulean admiral, when two beings share blood in the manner we did to activate the station, it creates a bond that is significant. Significant how? In cerulean culture, it is considered the most intimate form of connection. Similar to what humans would call, don't say marriage, a biological pairing contract. That's just marriage with extra syllables. By now we'd reached the shuttle. Grunk tossed Vrax inside like a sack of cerulean potatoes. Pix was already rewiring something in the control panel, muttering about stellar dolphins swimming through the ocean of tomorrow. Tom was cataloging the confiscated weapons with disturbing efficiency, and his ever-present smile. My crew respects you, Lyra continued. You have proven your worth. There would be a place for you among us. As what? Your alien husband. As my consort, yes, and as our medical specialist. She actually looked uncertain, an expression I'd never seen on a cerulean before. The astral vengeance could use someone with your unique approach to problem solving. I stared at her, trying to process this twist. Let me get this straight. I saved your life 10 years ago. You came back and threatened my town to get me to help you. We stopped a galaxy-destroying weapon, and now you're proposing. That is an accurate summary. Yes, this is insane. I fix toasters for a living. You rehabilitated a quantum phase regulator while under fire, she countered. You performed impossible medical procedures under combat conditions. You think in ways none of my species would consider. She paused. And you make interesting jokes about alien anatomy. I couldn't help but laugh. That's your idea of romantic compatibility. My inappropriate humor, among other qualities. The shuttle lifted off, heading back toward the astral vengeance. Through the viewport, I could see the precursor station, now pulsing with gentle light, rather than apocalyptic energy. What happens if I say yes? You would be granted status within my house. We would return to cerulean space, where you would be the first human to voluntarily integrate into our society. And if I say no, then I return you to your repair shop, as promised. I thought about New Anchorage, about fixing moisture collectors and sonic screwdrivers for the rest of my life, about telling the same war stories to the same people at the same bar until I died of boredom. Then I looked at my team. Grunk was using a piece of scrap metal as a toothpick. Pix had disassembled and reassembled the shuttle's navigational computer, apparently improving it. Tom was, well, still being Tom, and Lyra, Admiral of the Cerulean Fleet, the blue-skinned girl I'd saved on a whim, now offering me the universe. If we do this, I said slowly, I have conditions. Name them. I want a proper medical bay. Not just cerulean supplies, Universal equipment. Granted. I want to bring adaptive medicine to other species. No more of this superior race's garbage. That has been my mission for years, Jack Reynolds. And I want a better title than consort. Sounds like I'm an accessory. Her eye crinkles deepened. What would you prefer? Medical director sounds nice. Maybe chief science officer. You may have both. The shuttle docked with the Astral Vengeance. As the doors opened to the main hangar, I saw hundreds of Cerulean crew members lined up in formation. When Lyra stepped out, they snapped to attention. She turned to me, extending her three-fingered hand. Your decision, Jack Reynolds. I took her hand. This blue-skinned alien who'd turned my life upside down twice now. Why the hell not? New Anchorage wasn't going to save itself from boredom anyway. Lyra faced her assembled crew, still holding my hand. In a formal voice that echoed through the hangar, she announced, "Crew of the Astral Vengeance, kneel before your new admiral consort." As hundreds of blue-skinned aliens dropped to one knee before me, I leaned toward Lyra and whispered, "I thought we agreed on medical director." "That too," she whispered back with the closest thing to a cerulean smile I'd ever seen. "But Admiral Consort sounds more impressive for the ceremonial announcement." "You know," I said as the crew rose and the real work of integrating a sarcastic human into cerulean society began. "Saving your life was either the worst decision I ever made or the best." "Both," she replied, simultaneously. Like all truly significant choices, I couldn't argue with that logic. Besides, I had a feeling that arguing with my new alien wife was going to be a full-time job anyway, one with much better benefits than fixing toasters.